The bridge of the Catharian dreadnought Vexthun hummed with quiet confidence. Commander Zactel stood before the massive viewport, his forearms crossed behind his back as he watched the stars drift by. His chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the blue emergency lighting, and his compound eyes reflected the navigation displays. Status report. He clicked in the Catharian tongue, his mandibles creating the harsh consonants that had struck fear into a dozen species across the galaxy. "All systems optimal, Commander," replied his second-in-command, Officer Yathara. Her smaller frame hunched over the tactical display, claws dancing across holographic controls. Long-range sensors show clear space ahead. No signs of resistance in the Terran outer colonies. Zactel allowed himself what passed for a smile among his kind, a slight parting of his mandibles. The Catharian Empire had crushed the Zilani Federation 3 cycles ago. The crystalline Vorthon civilization had surrendered after witnessing just one orbital bombardment. Even the warrior caste Drakmori had bent the knee rather than face complete annihilation. Now only one species remained unconquered in this sector: the humans. Curious creatures, these Terrans, Zactel mused, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who had never known defeat. Only recently achieved faster-than-light travel, primitive weapons, fragmented governments. Yet they refuse our generous offer of subjugation. The bridge crew chittered in amusement. The idea that any species could stand against the might of the Catharian Empire was absurd. Their fleet had carved through 3 galaxy arms, leaving behind either allies or ashes. "Sir," called out Navigator Clixon from his station, "we're approaching the outer marker of what the humans call the Sol System. Shall I plot a course for their homeworld?" "Not yet," Zactel replied, turning from the viewport. "First, we demonstrate our power to their outer colonies. Fear is a weapon more potent than any plasma cannon. When word reaches Earth of what happened to their frontier worlds, they'll surrender before we even arrive." The Vexthun was not alone. Behind it stretched a battle group of 12 vessels, dreadnoughts, cruisers, and support ships, each one capable of turning a planet's surface into molten glass. Together they represented enough firepower to level a small moon. "Incoming transmission from the lead scout ship," announced Communications Officer Thekvar. On screen, the hologram flickered to life, revealing Captain Mordak of the scout vessel, Silent Death. His scarred carapace told the story of countless battles. "Commander Zactel, we've detected human settlements on 3 worlds in this system. No significant military presence. Some orbital stations, but nothing that registers as a threat." "Excellent. Begin with the furthest colony. Make it thorough. I want the humans to understand the price of defiance." "Understood, sir." Silent Death out. As the communication ended, Zactel felt a familiar satisfaction. This would be over quickly. The humans would join the long list of species that had learned the futility of resisting Catharian might. But as the battle group advanced deeper into human space, none of them noticed the small dark object that had been trailing them for the past 3 days. It was sleek, angular, and completely silent. No energy signatures, no heat emissions. Nothing that would register on their sensors. It was a human ship, and it was watching. Chapter 2. First Contact. Last Warning. The mining colony on Kepler 442b had been humanity's pride just 5 years ago. 10,000 colonists worked the rich mineral deposits, sending precious metals back to Earth to fuel humanity's expansion into the stars. Children played in biodomed parks while their parents carved civilization from an alien world. Now, emergency. Sirens wailed across the settlement as massive shapes blotted out the twin suns. "This is Governor Martinez," came the voice over the colony's communication system. "All civilians report to designated shelters immediately. This is not a drill." Sarah Chen pressed her face against the reinforced window of Shelter Complex Alpha, watching the sky with wide eyes. She was 12 years old and had never seen anything more threatening than the occasional dust storm. The massive alien ships hanging in the atmosphere looked like something for her nightmares. "Mom, what's happening?" she whispered. Dr. Elena Chen pulled her daughter closer, her scientific mind struggling to process what she was seeing. As the colony's chief xenobiologist, she had spent years hoping for first contact with alien life. She had imagined peaceful exchanges of knowledge, cultural sharing, perhaps even friendship. She had never imagined this. The lead alien ship, a kilometer-long monstrosity bristling with weapon arrays, descended toward the main settlement. A brilliant blue beam lanced down from its hull, and an entire city block simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, gone, as if it had never existed. "Attention, human colonists," came a voice over every communication device in the settlement. The translation software struggled with the alien phonemes, creating a harsh clicking sound that made everyone's skin crawl. "You have witnessed the power of the Catharian Empire. You will now evacuate this world. You have 1 standard hour." Governor Martinez's voice crackled over the intercom. "This is Governor Martinez to the alien vessels. We are peaceful colonists. We wish to negotiate." His transmission cut off mid-sentence as another blue beam reduced the administrative complex. 2 atoms. 59 minutes remaining, the alien voice announced. In the shelter, panic began to set in. Families clutched each other. Some people prayed. Others stared at the walls in shock. But Dr. Chen was thinking. As a scientist, her mind raced through possibilities, calculations, hopes. "The nearest Earth Defense Force patrol is 6 days away," someone whispered. "The commercial freighters can't carry everyone," another voice said. "We're going to die here," a third person sobbed. But Dr. Chen was looking at something the others had missed. Through the window, beyond the massive alien ships, she could see a small glint of reflected light. Something else was out there. Something that hadn't been there an hour ago. High above the colony, aboard the Silent Death, Captain Mordak supervised the evacuation with cold efficiency. The humans were loading their pathetic cargo vessels with desperate speed. Some families were being separated as they fought for space on the inadequate ships. 30 minutes remaining, he announced, enjoying the taste of fear that permeated the human communications. "Sir," called his sensor operator, "I'm detecting some unusual readings." "Define unusual." "There's a shadow on our long-range sensors. It appears and disappears. Could be a sensor malfunction." Mordak's mandibles clicked, dismissively. "Run a diagnostic. Continue monitoring the evacuation." But the shadow was no malfunction. Hidden in the darkness between the stars, the human vessel, Retribution, hung motionless. It was unlike any ship in the known galaxy, not built for exploration or trade, but for one purpose only: war. Captain Marcus Reed stood in the ship's command center, watching the evacuation through advanced optical sensors. His face was carved from stone, his gray eyes reflecting years of military service. The Retribution was humanity's newest and most closely guarded secret, a stealth warship designed using technology that Earth's best scientists claimed was impossible. "Status report," Reed said quietly. "All systems armed and ready, sir," replied his weapons officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim. "The alien vessel is maintaining position directly over the colony. Rules of engagement? They fired on civilians, sir. That makes them legitimate targets under the Colonial Defense Act." Reed nodded slowly. The Retribution carried experimental weapons that had never been tested in actual combat. Today, that would change. Time to evacuation deadline? 18 minutes, sir. Signal the colony ships. Tell them to alter course bearing 045 and increase speed to maximum. Something's about to happen that they don't want to see. As the last civilian vessels fled the system, Reed made his decision. The Catharian Empire was about to learn that humans were not the helpless prey they appeared to be. "All hands, this is the captain." Battle stations. Warning lights bathed the Retribution's corridors in red as the crew prepared for humanity's first interstellar war. Chapter 3. The Hunter Becomes Hunted. Commander Zachtel watched the fleeing human ships with satisfaction. The evacuation had proceeded exactly as planned. Panicked, disorganized, with several vessels so overloaded they could barely maintain orbit. It was a demonstration of human weakness that would make excellent propaganda when broadcast to their other colonies. "Shall we destroy the fleeing vessels, Commander?" asked Officer Yathara. "It would send a powerful message." "No," Zactel replied, his tactical mind calculating the psychological impact. "Let them flee. Fear spreads faster than any ship. When they reach other human worlds with tales of our power, those colonies will surrender without resistance." He turned to survey his bridge crew, noting their confident postures, the casual way they monitored their stations. The Catharian Empire had not faced a real challenge in over a decade. Perhaps that was why none of them noticed the subtle changes in their sensor readings. "Sir," called out the sensor operator, "I'm reading some anomalous data from Grid 7. Elaborate." "There's a distortion, like something is bending space around itself. But there's nothing there." Zactel's compound eyes focused on the display. Space appeared empty, but his warrior instincts, honed through decades of combat, whispered a warning. "Full sensor sweep, all frequencies. Sir, running deep scan now. I'm getting massive energy readings. There's definitely something out there." The words had barely left the operator's mandibles when space itself seemed to ripple. Reality twisted, and suddenly a ship materialized where empty vacuum had been moments before. It was sleek and angular, like a blade made of shadow and starlight. No running lights, no identifying marks. It simply hung in space like a waiting predator, and every sensor on the Vexthun screamed danger. What is that?" whispered Navigator Clixon. Before anyone could answer, the human ship moved. It didn't accelerate gradually like normal vessels. It simply went from stationary to impossible speed in the span of a heartbeat. The Vexthun's targeting computers couldn't track it, couldn't predict its path, couldn't even determine exactly where it was at any given moment. "Evasive maneuvers," Zactel roared. "All weapons, target that ship." The Catharian dreadnought's mighty cannons swiveled, tracking frantically. Plasma bolts lanced through space, each one powerful enough to vaporize an asteroid. But the human ship danced between them like it was performing an elaborate ballet, never where the weapons expected it to be. "How is it moving like that?" Yathara demanded. "Impossible," muttered the weapons officer. "No ship can maneuver at those velocities. The G-forces would turn any crew to paste." Aboard the Retribution, Captain Reed stood calmly at the center of controlled chaos. His bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their movements smooth despite the wild maneuvers their ship was performing. "Inertial dampeners holding steady," reported Engineering Officer Collins. "The alien weapons are tracking us, but they're too slow." "Analysis of their ship?" Reed asked. "Big, heavily armed but built for conventional warfare," replied Lieutenant Kim. "Their targeting systems are sophisticated, but they rely on predictable physics. They can't compensate for our technology." Reed nodded. The Retribution represented a quantum leap in human engineering, gravity manipulation, inertial dampening, and weapons that operated on principles the galaxy had never seen before. Earth's scientists had spent decades reverse engineering technology from a derelict alien probe found in the Kuiper Belt. The probe's creators were long dead, but their gift would ensure humanity's survival. "Sir, should we open communications?" asked Communications Officer Zhang. "Not yet. Let them wonder what they're facing." The Retribution completed another impossible turn, spiraling around the Catharian dreadnought in a pattern that should have torn the ship apart. As it passed the alien vessel's stern, it fired. The weapon that emerged from the human ship wasn't plasma or laser or anything the Catharians recognized. It was pure energy, a tear in reality itself that reached out and touched the Vexthun's shields. The massive dreadnought's defensive systems simply stopped, not overloaded, not damaged. They ceased to exist, as if the laws of physics had forgotten they were there. "Shields down," screamed the tactical officer. "All defensive systems offline. How is that possible?" Commander Zactel stared at his displays in shock. In 40 years of warfare, he had never seen technology like this. The human ship was toying with them, demonstrating capabilities that defied every known principle of science and warfare. "Open a channel," he ordered, his voice carefully controlled. "All frequencies." The bridge fell silent as Zactel activated the communication array. When he spoke, it was with the authority of someone who had conquered worlds, but also with the first taste of uncertainty he had felt in decades. "Human vessel, this is Commander Zactel of the Catharian Empire. You pilot advanced technology. Perhaps we can reach an understanding." The response came immediately, in perfect Catharian. The voice was human, calm, cold, and utterly without fear. "Commander Zactel, this is Captain Marcus Reed of the Earth Defense Force vessel. Retribution. You attacked civilians. You destroyed civilian infrastructure. You threatened helpless colonists. There will be no understanding." The transmission cut off, and the human ship resumed its impossible dance around the Catharian fleet. But now its movements had a different quality, predatory like a shark circling wounded prey. "Sir," whispered Officer Yathara, "perhaps we should consider withdrawing." For the first time in his career, Commander Zactel found himself agreeing with that suggestion. But it was already too late. The retribution struck again, and this time, the silent death simply disappeared. One moment Captain Mordak's ship was there, the next there was only empty space and scattered atoms. The most powerful fleet in the Catharian Empire suddenly realized they were no longer the predators. They had become the prey. Chapter 4. The Price of Arrogance. The remaining 11 ships of the Catharian battle group had spread into defensive formation, their weapons trained on empty space, trying to track the ghost ship that hunted them. Commander Zactel's mind raced through tactical options, but every scenario ended the same way: in disaster. "Report from all vessels," he ordered. Battlecruiser. "Death's Edge. Reports full combat readiness but cannot achieve weapons lock," came the first response. Destroyer Bone Crusher, requesting permission to withdraw to safe distance. Cruiser Star Render has lost main sensors, navigation only. One by one, his captains reported similar problems. The human ship's mere presence seemed to interfere with their systems in ways their engineers couldn't explain. It was as if the vessel existed partially outside normal space-time. "Commander," called his communications officer, "I'm receiving a transmission from the human ship. Text only. Display it." The message appeared on the main screen in simple Catharian script. "You have 60 seconds to begin withdrawing from human space. Any vessel that remains after that time will be destroyed. This is your only warning." The bridge fell silent. Zactel could feel the eyes of his crew upon him, waiting for orders. In the Empire's history, no Catharian commander had ever retreated from an inferior force. Their reputation was built on absolute victory or glorious death in battle. But this was not an inferior force. "Sir," whispered Officer Yathara, "our weapons cannot track them. Our shields offer no protection. Perhaps tactical withdrawal." "Never!" Zactel's mandibles snapped shut with a sound like breaking bone. "Signal the fleet. All vessels, converge on my position. We will concentrate our firepower and destroy this human ship." It was the last mistake he would ever make. The moment the Catharian ships began moving into attack formation, space around them erupted in impossible light. Not one human ship, but 3 appeared simultaneously, materializing from stealth fields that had concealed them perfectly. Each vessel moved with the same reality-defying grace as the Retribution, and each one carried weapons that seemed to operate outside the known laws of physics. Captain Reed's voice came over the communications array, broadcast to every ship. "In the alien fleet, I gave you a chance to leave. You chose war. Now learn why humans are dangerous when we have no choice but to fight." What followed was not a battle. It was a demonstration. The human ships moved through the Catharian formation. Like wolves among sheep, their weapons reached out and simply erased sections of enemy vessels, not destroying them, but removing them from existence entirely. The mighty Vex Thun pride of the Catharian fleet, found its main gun batteries deleted from reality. The battlecruiser Death's Edge had its engine core extracted as if by invisible hands, leaving the ship dead in space. "How?" gasped Navigator Clixon. "How is this possible?" Commander Zactel watched his fleet die and finally understood the magnitude of his miscalculation. The humans weren't primitives who had recently achieved spaceflight. They were deliberately hiding their capabilities, allowing the galaxy to underestimate them while they prepared for war. "All ships," he transmitted on emergency frequency. "Withdraw immediately. Full retreat. Do not engage the human vessels," but only 4 ships remained capable of responding. The rest hung in space as lifeless hulks, their crews either dead or trapped aboard ships with no power, no life support, no hope. Aboard the Retribution, Captain Reed watched the surviving Catharian vessels flee. His weapons officer looked to him expectantly. "Sir, should we pursue?" "No, let them go. They have a message to deliver." Lieutenant Kim frowned. "Sir, if we let them escape, they'll report our capabilities to their empire. They'll return with a larger fleet." Reed's expression was grim. "That's exactly what I want them to do. The Catharian Empire needs to understand that humanity is not prey. When they return, and they will return, it won't be to conquer us. It will be to negotiate. And if they refuse to negotiate, then we'll teach the rest of the galaxy the same lesson we just taught them. Humans are most dangerous when we're cornered, and right now we're very cornered indeed." As the human ships vanished back into their stealth fields, the survivors of the Catharian battle group limped toward home. Behind them, they left the wreckage of the most powerful fleet their empire had ever assembled. The message was clear. Humanity was not what it appeared to be. The question was whether the galaxy would be wise enough to listen. Epilogue. The EU message spreads. 3 weeks later, the emergency session of the Catharian High Council convened in the Empire's capital city. The Great Chamber, carved from a single massive crystal and designed to intimidate visitors from across the galaxy, buzzed with urgent conversations. Commander Zactel stood before the 7 members of the High Council, his once proud bearing, now marked by defeat. His report had been transmitted ahead of his arrival, but hearing it spoken aloud made the disaster seem even more impossible. "Repeat your assessment of human military capabilities," demanded High Counselor Vexmar, her ancient voice echoing through the chamber. "Honorable counselors," Zactel began, choosing his words carefully. "The humans possess technology that operates beyond our understanding of physics. Their ships can appear and disappear at will. Their weapons can selectively delete matter from existence. Their maneuverability suggests they have overcome the basic limitations of inertia." "You're describing gods, not primitives," scoffed Counselor Thakron. "Perhaps fear has clouded your judgment." Zactel's compound eyes flashed with anger, but he controlled his response. "With respect, Honorable Counselor, I have uploaded all sensor data from the engagement. The evidence speaks for itself." The council members examined the data in silence, their expressions growing more troubled with each passing moment. Finally, High Counselor Vexmar spoke. "If this data is accurate, how have the humans hidden such capabilities?" "I believe they deliberately allowed us to underestimate them," Zactel replied. "Their public vessels use conventional technology. Their colonies appear defenseless, but they have been preparing for war while the galaxy saw them as harmless newcomers." "Recommendations?" Zactel straightened, knowing his next words would determine the Empire's future course. "We should attempt diplomatic contact immediately." The humans demonstrated restraint. They could have destroyed our entire fleet but chose to let us escape. This suggests they prefer negotiation to total war. "The Catharian Empire does not negotiate with inferiors," Counselor Thakron declared. "With respect, Counselor, after what I witnessed, I no longer believe the humans are inferior to anyone." The chamber fell silent as the implications of that statement sank in. For the first time in the Empire's history, they faced an enemy that might be genuinely stronger than they were. High Counselor Vexmar's decision would shape the future of the galaxy. "We will dispatch diplomatic envoys to human space, but we will also begin mobilizing our reserve fleets. If negotiations fail, we will return in force. As the council session ended, none of them knew that their every word had been monitored by human intelligence operatives. The message was already racing back to Earth. The Catharian Empire would try diplomacy first, but they were preparing for war. In a secure bunker beneath the Swiss Alps, Admiral Sarah Chen, Dr. Elena Chen's older sister and now head of Earth's Defense Initiative, studied the intelligence reports. The little girl who had once played in biodomed parks on distant worlds was now a woman responsible for humanity's survival. Assessment? She asked her staff. They're scared but not defeated, replied Intelligence Director Park. The Empire will try to negotiate from a position of strength. When they realize we won't be intimidated, they'll come back with everything they have. Admiral Chen nodded grimly. Then we'd better be ready. Activate the Saturn shipyards. Begin mass production of the new vessels. And send word to our allies. It's time they knew what humanity really is. Across human space, shipyards that had been disguised as mining stations came online. Weapons platforms that had masqueraded as communication satellites powered up their reality-warping armaments. And in the depths of space, more ships like the Retribution emerged from hiding, their crews ready to defend humanity's right to exist. The galaxy had spent centuries believing that might made right, that conquest was the natural order. Now, they would learn that sometimes the seemingly weak were simply waiting for the right moment to show their true strength. The age of human expansion was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The end.